Did you come from a family system that saw limitation in capabilities? Capacity itself has been perceived in your eyes as very small. There's not a whole lot of room for growth. One of the most transformative books that I've ever come across, and I actually didn't finish it, but just reading a little bit of it, I really understood what the book was about altogether. And that was a book called Mindset. I believe it followed with The New Psychology of Success by Carol S. Dweck. This book explored the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And the basic gist of it was that if you have a fixed mindset, it means that you don't really see a whole lot more than believing that if you do something and you're not good at it, then there's not really anything more for you. There's no potential for anything better for you. There's no room for growth. But a fixed mindset is the complete opposite. That if you don't do something the best that you can the first time, then obviously you can grow, expand, and become better. There are some families that train their children into believing that it's a one and done, and if you weren't good enough the first time around, there's just no room for growth for a second opportunity. But see, the fascinating thing is that the reality of the matter is that, I mean, I believe it was, maybe it wasn't Churchill. I don't remember who it was that said this, but whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. If you believe that you can't do any better than you did previously, then you'll live that way. If you believe that you can, then you'll live that way. It's funny how actually manual life is. But the reality of the matter is that some people were raised with a fixed mindset. And the funny and ironic thing is that they are not fixed that way. People that believe that they can't do better for themselves because they were raised with a fixed mindset, they believe that that's the way that their life is going to be for good for the rest of their life. But it's not the reality of it. Just because you were raised to believe in limitations in capacity and capabilities does not actually mean that that's the way that you are fucked for the rest of your life. It just means that you have been trained in a pattern of doing and believing that the one time is going to be it, and that's going to be the best that you can do, which it usually never is. It requires repetition, it requires doing something more than once to get better at it. But for those that were raised with a fixed mindset, they believe that it's a one and done. And they believe that that one time is their shot, and if they don't do it good enough, then they just simply can't do it. And that's fascinating because to get good at anything requires repetition. It requires doing it more than once. And don't get me wrong, there are sometimes the case where somebody might actually just be naturally good at something, or naturally good at multiple things, and that ends up being the outcome for them. And the fascinating thing is that you can go from having a fixed mindset to a growth mindset simply by opening yourself up to the reality of, oh, wait a second, this is just the introduction to this. I can actually choose to reapproach this if I didn't do that well the first time and figure out how to do it better. I'm very fascinated by people that learn a fixed mindset and that learn that their capacities and their capabilities are very limited based on a simple belief system that they were raised with by a dysfunctional family system that sees things or perceives things in a very limiting way. Just because you believe that it was supposed to be a one-time thing that would get you there and that you would get in right away, or you would do it perfectly right away, and you didn't do what you thought you would, doesn't mean that you are completely fucking screwed for eternity. You can actually open yourself up and start to believe, oh, well, wait a second. Maybe if I try this again, I'll do better at it. I've never had a fixed mindset in my life. I have done things where I've looked at them and I was like, oh, wow, that was really hard. Oh, wow, I got rejected. Oh, wow, I didn't like that. And I actually put it to the side for a bit. I don't believe in quitting. I don't believe in. I don't really even believe in failure. I think that failure is a bullshit construct. I believe that you do something and you don't really achieve it, but I believe that you can do anything that you want to. I was raised in a way that I learned a growth mindset. I remember when I was a child, I would go outside and I would ride my fucking bike until I got it. My face was beat fucking red with a waterfall of sweat dripping down it. And I did it until I got it. I do things until I get it. If I want it. If I don't want it, then I just don't give a fuck. But there are some people out there, and quite honestly, a lot of people out there, that are very stuck inside of a fixed mindset with a belief that they should just know it, or that they should just have it, or that they took that math test and they didn't get it. And therefore, it's the end of the fucking world and they should just retire and hide out on a fucking private island or a forest with all of their shame and misery because they are terrible. No. It's absurd. It's not accurate. I'm not entirely sure myself what it is that breeds a fixed mindset, so I'm not going to express anything that's not true here. But what I am going to say is that if you were raised with a fixed mindset, if you were raised with this belief that you should have already had it figured out and that it should just be natural, you should just be perfect already, understand that there's always room for growth. You can always be better, you can always do better. And if you don't do something right the first time, you can learn about what it is that you did do that wasn't it. And you can actually totally change the entire path moving forward. You can see yourself in a way that allows you to understand that there's room for growth, that you can do better next time. If you just take some time and sit down and understand the material or understand what is required to do better the next time. The reason why this is important for personal development, for healing, for growth, is because one of them is very stagnated and the other one is very expansive. And for instance, I made a video the other day, may have been yesterday actually, and it was talking about how people that are unhealed are potentially broken. And I gave a metaphor for a car. Slash the tire of a car, you're going to have a very hard time driving that car for a long distance. Or slash multiple tires. That car's screwed. It's broken. It doesn't function properly. So a fixed person might look at the car and they might say like, oh, well, I guess I just can't drive it. Or metaphorically, if you are the car, well, I guess I'm just not drivable. I'm just not workable. I'm broken. I'm dysfunctional. I'm screwed for eternity. Well, not quite. If you take a look around the car and just examine things a little bit more. Oh, well, wait a second. The car needs a tire. It needs a new tire. It needs multiple new tires. Oh shit! It needs an oil change. Some things just need to be finely tuned and tweaked. Just because you were born into a system that may have fucked you with a fixed mindset does not mean that you need to continue to live that way. And forget these labels of fixed versus growth. Look at it as just the ways that you were raised. You were raised to see limitation in capacity. You were raised to see limitation in capability. And I'm going to say it for what it is. The likelihood that you can do whatever the fuck you want to in this life is very fucking high. Sure, some people have some limitations, but for a majority of it, I mean, if you have any like severe limitations, I don't usually make videos like this. I just wanted to take the time to step out a little bit and create content based around something that I think is meaningful and important. A majority of my stuff is around boundaries, emotional health, individuation, differentiation, a lot of psychology subjects. But this is psychology in and of itself. Just because you were raised with perceived limitation doesn't mean that that's the way that you are fucked for the rest of your life. If you aren't good at something and you want to get good at it, all you have to do is continue. No matter where you're at in your journey, no matter how much you think that you suck or how much other people tell you you suck. For a majority of the population, from what I've learned, not claiming fact or truth about this, but for a majority of the population, from what I've learned, everyone starts off not so good at something. It's all a matter of just getting better and better. In fact, when I first started doing YouTube, when I first started doing videos, I thought that I needed to have everything perfect. I thought that I needed to have the perfect background. I thought that I needed to have the perfect camera. I invested in things that I have now, and I use a fucking iPhone. I have really good quality camera, and I use a fucking iPhone. It's just my choice. It's easier because it's more portable. But I remember when I used to press that record button to do a video, I would literally hit the record button and then I'd be like, fuck. And then I'd walk away. But I did it over and over and over again until I got it. If you want to get good at anything, it requires, or if you want to get excellent at anything, it requires consistency, persistency, repetition. If you want to get strong in the gym, you've got to do it multiple fucking times. It's not just a one and done. You're not just going to pump iron hardcore one fucking day and then be fucking Hercules. It takes repetition. It takes showing up over and over and over again. It takes getting humble. It takes taking constructive criticism. Recently, I actually took constructive criticism that helped me. And somebody in the comments, they made a comment and they were like, hey, respect for taking the constructive criticism. Something that I've realized that I value is growth. And I recognize that comes with humility. You've got to recognize that you can always be better. And you can. You can always be better. Growth mindset. I'm stuck where I am, and there's no getting better for me. Fixed mindset. In my honest opinion, a fixed mindset is just a fucking illusion. That's all that it is. It's just illusion. It's just an illusion to keep you stuck in a space that is just an illusion. To put things into perspective in a human evolution point of view, we have evolved for a long fucking time. Fixed mindset, fixed beliefs, limitation, That's just in here. But so is growth, so is expansion.